So I've got the afterburner taken apart on my bench. This is the same one as I've been using throughout the whole of last summer. It's screwed together rather than being glued and screwed. You can see I've still got the corner pieces. I'm going to take those out for the next one. Now another modification I've done is I've broken into my new sheet of Miculite because the old stuff was getting a bit tatty. Now I've put some pieces underneath to keep it exactly 15mm clearance, so the air gap's 15mm. And now I'll put a piece of glass in the front because I think the rushing air coming in is spoiling the vortex a bit. And then I've had this other crazy idea, and I think I've put in this other piece of glass, and I think if the air can go underneath it, come back up it, and then flow up inside of the viewing glass to give a sort of air wash. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I think it might just see it. I mean, you see there's a small gap there, and when I put the front glass on, I'm hoping it's going to keep it clear. It's only really gets smoky at the beginning of the burn. Now, I've got it outside. This is a particularly large viewing window compared with the others. You can see in it quite clearly, especially without the chimney being there, because it's letting light in. It looks a good viewing window. Now I've got a few bits of tape in place just to stop any air leaks, and we'll light it up and see what happens. So with this new design, I didn't really explain it very well, I didn't take enough pictures, but the whole afterburner is sloping upwards. So we still got this angled afterburner. Now you can see from my little bit of glass that's stopping the air. I mean, it's only the firelighters powering it at the moment, but if I put this stick in, it was very difficult to film it holding my camera, but you can actually see the smoke is being sucked up that little gap, and so there must be air travelling up the inside of the viewing glass. Whether or not it'll work, in fact you can even see where it's gone black, the soot has gone black, but you can see there's a clear patch up there, which I'm thinking the air rushing up is working as an air wash. I don't know how effective it's going to be. We'll see as the burn progresses. So this is interesting. You could actually see there's some black acrid smoke that's coming out of the firebox, and it's not making it very far because it's been sucked straight into a secondary air chamber, and I think it sort of suggests that the stove in general would run quite well as an open stove. Obviously having a door in place gives you more control, but I think, yeah, it would definitely work without the door at all. I've been running the stove in every format I can think of. Here you can see it with the glass door in place, and you can see there the primary air comes through the little triangles. I've got the secondary air blocked up, and it still works very well. I mean, the only real benefit of having the additional secondary air was to stop it over fueling, but it does work very well without. However, when you expose the secondary air and get it functioning, there is a change. Apart from the actual noise of the fire starts to roar, the flames do change colour, and if anything they might come slightly closer to the glass, but it works in both ways. Obviously the major benefit was to stop it from over fueling. Okay, I'm going to mess around a little bit with the secondary air, so I'm going to cut off the primary air and just purely feed it on secondary air, which is what's happening now. So it's gasifying, it's actually in a gasifying mode at the moment. So no primary air, and you can see the fire's calmed right down because the door's in place and it's not receiving any air. But there's obviously enough smoke coming off the wood and enough heat in the stove to reignite it. Now I'm trying it with just a small amount of secondary air, and that works well as well. It's quite interesting how it all works in this fashion. So now the fire's nice and warm. It's been running for I don't know, half an hour or so. I've been trying to mess around with burning the end of my stick to see how successful my air wash is working. I mean, it does work, but it's so difficult to hold the stick, hold my phone and capture where the smoke is going. But it seems successful. I think it's more a bit of fun than actually any real practical use. It's just a bit difficult to construct. So anyhow, what we're going to do, now it's nice and hot and warm, we'll chuck a bit of extra wood on, chuck some fresh wood on, and as usual it's very well behaved and we've got zero smoke coming out. I'm really happy that this, you know, we've managed to achieve our goal in that respect. I'm sure there's more things to do. So because the flame's staying in the back so well behaved, you have to wonder if you could have a larger firebox and flames would still stay in the back. It's just another thing to try. There's so many things to try. I definitely think sloping the viewing glass back a little bit, I don't know what effect it would have. I mean, we'd have to experiment and see. Okay, that's another fire lit and another experiment over. And I quite enjoyed that. I mean, we've got our additional air wash for this upper window. I don't know if it's really worth the hassle, to be honest with you. I think it would work better if this glass was, if it was sloped back. If this top window had an angle on it, I think that would be more effective. But nevertheless, I think it did work. I mean, we didn't get any smoke forming on the glass, so I guess that is a success. However, having said all that, this stove in its original format, like last summer when I built the original one, once it's up to temperature, whatever smoke does form on this glass, it burns off. And I didn't have any secondary air on the stove last year, none whatsoever. I mean, there is a secondary air because it's being drawn in, the amount of air you're offering to it gets heated and it goes up through there. So it is actually, if there's enough oxygen and it's designed properly, you are having secondary air without any extra facility. But the problem we were having last year was reloading on top of a hot fire. And I was using it for cooking extensively, so once the flame started dying down I needed to boost the fire, and I was throwing in more wood and I was getting plumes of smoke. So most of these experiments have been about trying to address that issue, and I think we have sorted out. By having this large secondary air facility, we don't get the overfueling now, so that's a huge success. I mean, these stoves are really small. I mean, it's 10 inches by 20 inches. They're a real powerhouse. I mean, you can't get your hands anywhere near the front glass once it's running full tilt. It really is a very, very hot stove. And I think perhaps after doing these experiments, especially with the secondary air, the vortex is so well behaved, it stays right at the back of the chamber for the majority of the time. I think we could have a bigger firebox. I think you could have more power in this 4-inch stove than we've actually got at the moment. I think we could increase this. Maybe it's 8-inch square. I think maybe go up to 9-inch square, and I think that would probably be work just as well. Who knows? And then the other interesting thing is that we had some smoke coming out, as you saw in the video, and it comes out here and it goes straight into a secondary air. So I think this stove has the possibilities and capabilities of running with an open front, which is quite an exciting. Perhaps if I built some form of arch there or something sticking out, it would catch any smoke and really draw it in. I hope you've enjoyed the experiments. I'm not sure where I'm going to go next. I'm probably going to build a complete new stove. I'm considering building a 5-inch stove. I'm not really sure, but I think I've probably taken this as far as I'm going to go with this particular box. I had to use some new vermiculite to build the top. This is still the original box from last summer, and it's still really sound. I mean, it is functional, has a few cracks in it, but it's still very functional. So we'll see what, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, but it's a bit of a wait and see. Cheery for now.